Have you seen the Google form that Tim Ferriss created to help him find a wife? He called it his wife hunting page, and you might scoff at this, but if you're someone who's wired differently than most people and deep connection just doesn't seem to be working out, then this form might uncover the reason as to why. And it's got nothing to do with your standards being too high or you being too different to date. It's a perspective trap where the better you are at analyzing people and yourself, the deeper you tend to be stuck in it. I'm Asha, and I help smart, unconventional people deal with the relationships that's costing them professionally and emotionally. And in this video, I'm going to show you the form that he created, break down exactly what the trap is, and explain why you aren't finding your people. To start off, let's go through the form itself, and you tell me if you can spot the flaw, okay? If you found this, you found the Easter egg. Yep, in these wild and crazy times, I've decided to create a Google form for wife hunting. I never imagined doing this, but that's true of most great things in my life, so why not? I would love to meet you, and the more fields you're able to fill out, the more likely, but you can improv as you like. And no matter where this adventure goes, I hope life surprises you with more blessings than you hope for. Hugs through the ether, Tim. And honestly, this is really level-headed. He knows exactly how ridiculous this looks and how, sometimes ridiculous effort tends to give outsized outcomes. So far so good. Now, the first 3 questions: social media handle, full name, LinkedIn. And this is where my alarm bells start ringing a little bit, but let's keep going on. Now, the next 3: what sports have you played in the past? And what sports or physical activities do you currently take seriously? Do you ski or snowboard? Check all that apply. If you ski or snowboard, roughly how many days have you skied or snowboarded in the last 2 years, and what's your level of ability? And then we get to age, which is a little peculiar, right? Like 3 snow sport related questions before asking for someone's age. But it's pretty interesting, but let's keep moving. After age, do you have kids? Do you want kids? And if yes, how many? And then, are you religious? And if yes, tell me more. Then photos, other comments, must-haves, and non-negotiables. And that's the form. Now, did you spot it? Like something just feels really off. Why does a page like this stir such strong feelings? Because at the surface, it feels like he's searching for a person at the observable attribute level. I want them to ski or snowboard. I want to know what job they have. I want to know how they look at their social media posts. And that feels off because how on earth can you possibly know a person through that, right? Your LinkedIn tells me what you do, and your social media posts just show me your curated outside personality. But Tim Ferriss isn't an idiot, right? He's presumably dated the traditional way for a long time. He knows how ridiculous this is. This isn't like attempt number 1. So let's steelman these questions. Maybe the ski snowboard questions are him asking, do you take care of your health? Like, are you able to share the things that I enjoy the most? Maybe the LinkedIn is asking, like, what do you want to solve and what do you care about in the world? Maybe the socials are asking, like, how private are you and what parts of yourself do you choose to show to the world? When you read it that way, he's not screening them through the observable attribute level, right? He's trying to find someone's narrative, their story, their why, albeit a pretty questionable set of qualifiers. And if you're wired differently, this is more your style, right? It's already how you're searching for connection, narrative level understanding. Do our whys align? Do we get each other's story? It feels like this is the kind of dating that gets you the connection that you want. But it isn't, and that is where the actual trap lies. Because there's a layer beneath the narrative that is arguably more important when it comes to building a strong partnership with someone. And to really understand what that layer is, you have to ask yourself one question. Do you feel like you're the same person from a year ago? Like maybe at the core you are, but it feels like you've changed a lot. Right? Because you're constantly taking in inputs from the world and processing it and allowing yourself to change and adapt accordingly. So if your narratives are evolving every 12 months, then what are you trying to match on by trying to align at the narrative level? Now think of any great partnership that you admire. They don't just gel as the people they were when they met, right? They continue to bond even as they grow and evolve over time, even when their narratives change. So what you should be prioritizing isn't narrative alignment, it's alignment of growth. But how on earth do you align on future growth? Now, that is the layer that's beneath the narrative, and it's something I call the perceptual engine. It's what someone observes in the world and how they process it to form the very narratives that they hold. For example, you can give one story to 2 different people, but their takeaways could be completely different from each other because each person just notices different things about the story and sees different aspects and feels differently about each aspect. And let me tell you, after analyzing thousands of relationship dynamics, the perceptual engine level is where true connection lies. Because great friendship is when 2 people respect each other's engine. But great partnership is when two people respect and learn from each other's engine. And as a result, they start building shared narratives together. So what does this mean for someone like you who's looking for that deep connection? There's one huge implication, and to understand that, I'm going to tell you a personal story. When I was dating, I put a ton of effort into writing my profile, my bio, okay? And it had tons of dark humor, jokes about me wanting to cryo-freeze my head and wanting to find someone who would freeze theirs right next to mine. And people loved that bio, okay? I would get so many messages just about the bio. And it worked exactly as designed. It broadcasted my narrative, what I cared about, how I saw the world, and it matched me with people who aligned with that. Those were real connections. The person that I ended up connecting with more than anyone in the entire world by a landslide, I met him offline by dumb luck. And if I had seen his Instagram, his dating profiles, his LinkedIn, I would have swiped left on all of it. We would not have matched. And we're both certain that if anyone knew the both of us, they would never in a million years match us up. But the first time we talked, something unexpected happened. Like, we couldn't stop asking questions to each other. When he told me stories of his life, I was genuinely fascinated with how he chose to share those details and like how he saw the world through his stories. And when I shared my most batshit insane stories to someone who back then he wouldn't even swear, okay, he lived life by the book. He was completely enthralled with my stories and would ask questions in a way where it got me thinking and seeing my own stories in a new light. And vice versa, I was learning how he saw the world in real time and he was learning mine, and both of our engines started syncing and expanding. Sure, we had a couple of core truths in common, but the narratives and the kind of lives that we were living was so vastly different from each other. Neither of us could have predicted the narratives that we have now because it didn't exist until we made it together. Sit with that. Like, my bio was doing narrative matching on such a high level, and it would have still filtered out my person. And that's the implication. When you're looking for someone on the narrative level, you have an idea about what this person looks like. But if you want to connect on a perceptual engine level, you're not going to have an idea of what this person is actually going to be like. But does that mean narrative level doesn't matter at all? Of course not. It still does. Team Ferriss wouldn't consider someone who doesn't care about their health. But let's say someone's filling up the form and they've never done snow sports before. But the truth is, they would be very open to learning it and maybe be a very fast learner, maybe even overtake Tim, right? Maybe they do water sports and they'd be more than happy to teach them how to do it as well. And you might say, yeah, sure, I don't think Tim is going to draw like a hard line if someone doesn't do snow sports. But what would the person filling up that form feel? They would probably look at those questions and then self-reject and close the page entirely. The very things that we think are deeply important to us, and that list is ever growing with age, is selecting for the kind of person that we gel with today as we are. But it could be rejecting the people we truly connect with on future growth. And we would end up inadvertently creating our own versions of the Tim Ferriss questions, except a little less ski focused. Like, do they actively work on their trauma? Do they see relationships the same way? Do they see money the same way? But Asha, how do I find someone who aligns with me on the engine level when they might be unrecognizable to me at first? Like, how do I know which narratives are core to me and which aren't? You don't know which are core narratives. That's the entire point. Because you can only control one thing, whether you and the other person are open on a perceptual engine level. But that requires a certain type of communication you must have and be able to spot in someone. For example, the Tim Ferriss questions doesn't seem to signal someone who is looking to uncover and learn from someone else's perceptual engine. Simply based off the fact that at no point do any of his questions try to request information about how the other person sees the world. Now, if you were looking for a perceptual engine fit, like, he could still keep his questions, but he could add a couple of open-ended questions. I wrote a couple that could fit. So, be honest, this is pretty out there. For me to be finding a partner via Google Forms, and frankly, for you to be filling it up. What do you think is wrong with us? How do you think we'll get along? And what do you expect our future squabbles to be? Now, this works especially well because Tim Ferriss has done a ton of podcasts and you tend to get a sense of what kind of person he already is. And this isn't about the answers themselves, right? Because those are narrative level. It's about how they even form their answers at all. From watching all his podcasts, what did they notice and how did they interpret those things that they noticed? And those are just some examples. The main point is that if you're open to engine level communication, you will signal that you want to know how someone thinks, how they see the world, and how they process everything around them to form the narratives that they do. The real tricky part is being able to see if their perceptual engine is even open at all. Because if yours is open and theirs is not, then my gosh, that relationship will be gut-wrenching. I know this because I work with clients whose perceptual engine is wonderfully open to the people around them, their boss, their partner, their family, but not the other way around, while they think that it is the same level of openness. This leads to cycles of broken communication where you think you're having honest and open communication, tons of tension, and repair that never leads to lasting change. And the way you figure out how someone's perceptual engine works, if it's open and in what ways it is, all boils down to analyzing their words and their behavior. And this is a massive part of the work I do, discovering how your perceptual engine works, in what ways you might be blocking it from being seen by others, and how to uncover the engines of those around you. It makes things so much clearer because you concretely understand the potential of relationship, the limits of that relationship, and if you're able to nudge that person to open up their perceptual engine and potentially heal. So you can make that meaningful difference in a relationship without being stuck in that cycle of hope and tons of effort. So if you've been stuck in an unhealthy dynamic with your boss, your partner, your family, and you have analyzed it to death, you know everything about it, but you still can't figure out how to make a meaningful change, then you might be interested in working one-on-one together. Especially for those who are able to name every single reason as to why a relationship is giving you anxiety and not working out. Attachment theory, toxic culture, family trauma, shame, but still you can figure out how to actually get out of the cycle. Link is in my description for a 30-minute call to see if we're a good fit for working together. I hope you enjoyed this video and I will talk to you in the next one.